bringing folks in right now. All right, Mayor Bowser, take it away.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's good to see you virtually. I know we wish that we all could be together, but we're doing everything that we need to do in our respective cities to make sure we're moving in that direction. So I am so pleased to see so many mayors participating. I want to acknowledge Mayor Nan Whaley for her leadership of the Conference of Mayors during this challenging time for our cities. And I think I can speak for all of us in saying how much the conference has been a support to us during this time. I was pleased to accept the appointment from President Whaley to serve as the new chair of this committee. And I am grateful to all of the mayors as well who are thinking about how we can reach out to our global mayors and support global initiatives. So with that, President Whaley, do you have any comments?
Yeah, Chairwoman Bowser, I want to thank you for your leadership on this committee. This was a tough decision for me on who to pick as chair on this, and really the hosting that you do every single January and save the conference significant dollars, frankly, of hosting us at international locations in Washington, D.C. goes a long way to our effort here, and really appreciate your leadership. I also want to say thank you to Luis Renta, who has taken great and stellar care of me over the past 5 or 6 years as I've chaired this committee. I know he will do the same for you. And just want to say, appreciate Mayor County always putting forward his effort to make sure that we're thinking of peace in our world. So glad to be on, and glad for your leadership.
Thank you. And I also like to acknowledge the vice chair of the committee, Oklahoma City Mayor David Holt. Vice Chair Holt, thank you for your service. I don't know if you want to make any comments. Okay, hearing.
Don't see Mayor Holt.
Okay, and I also have the opportunity to introduce new members, and at this point, and we can ask any new members to introduce themselves. I understand that Farrah Khan, Trey Mendez, Chris Jensen, Dan Johnson, and Ryan Sorensen will be joining the committee for the first time. Okay. And I'll move forward now for consideration of resolutions that have been circulated to the membership. And when we complete consideration of these resolutions, number 58, 59, 60, and 61, we will also consider new resolutions, and consideration of new resolutions requires 2/3 vote of the committee. Also, if you want to add your name as a co-sponsor to any of the resolutions, you can do so using the app, and I'm sure you can also call it out, and we'll be sure that that happens. And only members of the committee can vote on resolutions, though any mayor present can participate in the discussion. And I understand that we have a parliamentarian who is helping us with the vote counting. As a reminder, to be recorded as a no, you can formally record yourself as no. Please note that recording a no vote requires the use of the app as well. Let me know how that's going for you, and let's proceed with the resolutions. I'll read out the number and the title of each resolution, and then
David, I think we lost Mayor Bowser.
Yeah, I think so too. We gotta check to make sure she gets back on.
We're waiting for Mayor Bowser to come back, and I just wanted to congratulate Nan Whaley. I hadn't had a chance to do that. So from Minnesota, we say congratulations, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Hovland. Appreciate it. Appreciate this folks' support on this. Thank you so much.
You've got it.
Here she comes back.
Sorry, I think we,
Uh-oh.
yeah,
There you are.
okay.
It's just the wonders of Zoom, Muriel, right?
The wonders of Dune. Okay, I think my internet may have become unstable. Sorry, guys.
That's
All
okay.
right, let's proceed. So that's resolution number 59. Is there a motion to consider that resolution?
Should we start with 58?
I'm sorry. Did I skip 58? Increasing federal investment in U.S. ports of entry. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I move county.
Okay, it's moved by Mayor County. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, sounds good. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Then that is unanimous and the motion passes. Let's move on to the question of resolution 59, urging the United States Congress to enact legislation implementing sanctions and other measures to restore freedom and democracy in Nicaragua. This resolution was submitted by Mayor Bermudez. Do I hear a motion to consider this resolution?
I motion it.
So moved, Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, President Whaley. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? The ayes have it and the motion carries. Moving on to the question on the approval of resolution number 60, uniting in solidarity with the Cuban people's right to democracy, freedom of speech and assembly, and requesting the United States government to provide internet access unfettered by the Cuban government. This resolution was also submitted by Mayor Bermudez. Do I hear a motion to put the resolution on the floor?
So moved.
It's been moved. Any second? And thank you for the second, Mayor Hovland. And the motion is up for discussion. Any discussion? Discussion. Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. The next question is on the approval of Resolution 61 in support of the City and State Diplomacy Act. This resolution was submitted by Mayor Johnson. Is there a motion to put it on the table? Thank you, Mayor Johnson. A second?
Second.
Second.
Thanks, President Whaley. Is there any discussion?
Yes, county in Des Moines. In paragraph 8, it says, whereas local networks make up exclusively of local government officials are at the forefront, and it lists a number of national and international, including C40 cities, ICLEI, United Cities and Local Governments, Global Parliament Mayors, Urban 20 Strong Cities. I would like to add is the Global Vice President of the Mayors for Peace. I would like to add the Mayors for Peace is a part of that paragraph 8 in support of this City and State Diplomacy Act.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
I think I would, but I'd love just to hear just 1 second about what the organization is. I apologize, I'm not familiar with it, but
Okay.
Mayor, could you tell me a little bit about the organization?
Sure. The Mayors for Peace was established in 1982, originally by the mayors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and is working for a world without nuclear weapons, but certainly working through local governments and state government, because we realize whether it's global war, whether it's diplomacy, whether it's climate change, things happen locally. I will say that we're supporting a culture of peace and essential measures for the realization of lasting world peace. But as of August 1st of 2021, there's about 8,043 members globally of this in 165 countries and regions around the world. And over 200 of them are in the United States. So at any rate, I just think it's important to have that global support from this, what I feel to be an important international group doing the right thing and supporting local government.
Well, Madam Chair, I would just say that since this would be a resolution that would express, I guess, the will of this committee, and in theory, at some point, potentially the will of the conference, if you as chair, Mayor Bowser, and as President Whaley's wish, if you like it, and I'm for it, and I'm happy to accept the friendly amendment if you have any thoughts about that.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm not, like you, I'm not as familiar with the organization. It sounds like Mayor Whaley and Mayor County have been working with it for a while. So I would be in support of it being added. And I would be in support of it.
Then I would too.
Okay. And so I'll take that as a friendly amendment. The parliamentarian can let me know if we require a vote on that amendment.
Sorry, I'm using a different computer. If any member would like it, a friendly amendment is just like any other amendment. It can be voted on or it can be accepted. So if anybody objects to it, then you would take a vote.
Okay. All right. Any objections? Okay, members, you have before you Resolution 61 as amended. All in favor? Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. So I think that those are all of the resolutions that were previously circulated. And we have, Mayor County has also informed us that as part of our new resolutions, he will put another resolution before us. And it is called, calls on the United States to welcome the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons and to act now to prevent nuclear war and eliminate nuclear weapons. And so this new resolution was emailed to members along with the agenda today. According to the rules, a 2/3 vote without debate is required to allow a new resolution to be considered. So this is the point to see if it can be introduced, and then we'll have a separate question on the measure itself. Okay, so the question is to for the membership is to allow consideration of a new resolution with the title mentioned above. All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Mayor?
No, I was raising my hand. Yes, sorry, I got
Okay, all right,
my
got
video
it.
shut off.
All right. Okay. So by my count, that is a unanimous consent of the committee. So the matter may be discussed. So with that, is there a motion to consider the new resolution, calls on the United States to welcome the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons and to act now to prevent nuclear war and eliminate nuclear weapons?
Chair, Mayor County again, I would say usually we like to, we have a discussion and a presentation and everybody has it. It's my understanding. And we usually do it in person, and I apologize. I will say the last number of years, we've had unanimous support for an almost very, very similar resolution in front of our group. And I am hoping for proposal. I will say that I am encouraged, is you read in the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th paragraph towards the end on the resolution, that the United States Conference of Mayors welcomes, and I think we had a change there, did we not, Luis, from June 21st to June 16th on a joint statement by President Biden and President Putin, in which they reaffirm the principle that nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought, and calls on the Biden administration to reduce nuclear tensions through intensive diplomatic efforts with Russia and China to actively pursue a verifiable agreement among nuclear armed states to eliminate their nuclear arsenals in conformity with the requirements of the international law preceding the TPNW by decades. That was very encouraging to see that both Putin and Biden agreed on that. And I will say that, again, as we discussed earlier, we all know that whether it's climate issues, whether it's war, whether it's any other variety of things, it happens someplace, and local governments have to respond. And if anyone ever wondered whether or not, local government should be concerned about an open nuclear war, I would suggest that we just remember that the mayors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they would tell you that local government needs to be concerned with a devastating weapon such as these, that very few of which with the current power could eliminate life on Earth as we know it. And
Mayor, may I ask, did you say that the conference had approved a similar resolution?
Last year, in the year
Okay.
before, and for about a decade or even more before that, and unanimously.
Got it. I got it. Are there any questions? Any other discussion? Yes, Mayor Hovland.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the intent here. I think it's really a wonderful sort of thing to be thinking about every year. I don't really, and Mayor County, maybe you could speak to the relevance of the first two whereas provisions, tying this nuclear weapons reduction request or elimination request to some sort of comparative to the COVID-19 pandemic. To me, you could easily start this with a third whereas clause. And then I don't know why we voted along with the other nuclear armed states against the TPNW, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. And I don't feel like I know enough about that situation. Maybe you could enlighten us, but I just got some reticence about certain elements of this resolution that, at least for me, seem to go a little bit too far beyond the ken of my knowledge. And so I wanted to have you walk through some of those things for me. I think it'd be helpful. Thank you.
Yes, and I think that Chairperson Bowser, if we could, and I guess I would ask Luis, if we could have my staff person, Jackie Cabasso, quickly address those, because she and I have been working on it, and she's a staff person that's there every single day. So if we're okay with that, I'd like to have Jackie sort of intervene here and explain that.
Yeah, Mayor, could I recognize your staffer for 2 minutes?
Yes.
We're promoting her up. All right, she's rejoining.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser and other mayors for giving me an opportunity to speak. Nuclear weapons were basically declared illegal in the very first resolution of the United Nations in 1946. And its illegality under international law has been reaffirmed time and time again. Most directly impacting the United States is the United States was one of the initiators of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which entered into force in 1970, and which requires all states parties to negotiate in good faith the end of the arms race at an early date and the elimination of nuclear weapons. So that is standing law. There are more recent instances of international law, including the Human Rights Commission finding that nuclear weapons would be incompatible with international human rights law, and the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, which was negotiated by 122 countries that don't have nuclear weapons, calls for the total elimination of nuclear weapons. Unfortunately, the nuclear weapon states declined to participate in those negotiations. Nonetheless, the TPNW represents a very strong statement by numerically the majority of the world's countries, although not the nuclear armed states. So what we're doing here is saying, instead of opposing this, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons is fully compatible with the obligations binding on the United States and the other nuclear armed states under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and the nuclear armed states should welcome the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons as further strengthening the non-proliferation regime, and should do their part in making good on their obligation to negotiate in good faith the end of the arms race at an early date and the elimination of nuclear weapons. The Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty is the most universal nuclear arms control agreement. It includes most of the countries in the world. All but 5 of them have forsworn nuclear weapons. So the ball is in our court. I would also mention that the U.S. Conference of Mayors has adopted Mayors for Peace resolutions for 16 consecutive years. So there's a very strong track record and a very long relationship between Mayors for Peace and the U.S. Conference of Mayors.
Jackie, let me quickly ask you to intervene also on the question regarding Antonio Guterres's call for immediate global ceasefire and international cooperation to address COVID-19 pandemic. Again, I believe the issue here is local governments having to be on the forefront of actions or inactions that have been taken another level, and it's all of our cooperation that is going to succeed in that front as well as world peace. But Jackie, would you give your thoughts?
Okay, in last year's resolution, the U.S. Conference of Mayors welcomed Secretary General's call for a global ceasefire and a call for unprecedented global cooperation to address the pandemic. Instead of that, unfortunately, what we've seen is an increase in tensions among the nuclear armed states, an increase in nuclear weapons spending, and we all have seen the dysfunctional nature of international cooperation to address the pandemic. So it's really a question of looking at resources and priorities. And it seems to me that it's in everybody's interest, regardless of anything else about your humanity, that governments and non-governmental organizations get together as they never have before to address this unprecedented pandemic and to really think about what human security needs and requires, which is not weapons of mass destruction, in my opinion.
And I think has been our opinion for years.
Yeah. I mean, I think the
Okay, is there
pandemic,
any other,
if I might just add to this, the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, which each year updates its doomsday clock, has put the hands of the doomsday clock at 100 seconds to midnight this year, the closest it's ever been, citing the twin existential threats of nuclear weapons and climate change, and goes into some discussion in its statement about the relevance of COVID and says the pandemic is our wake-up call.
Okay, is there any other discussion?
I just have one quick question. I think I ask it every
Mayor?
year. Thank you, Mayor, Madam Chair. I think I ask it every time. This is not call on the United States in any way, shape, or form unilaterally disarming their nuclear program.
It is not.
Okay.
And you
Madam
do
Chair.
ask that, every year, Mayor Bermudez, so I'm glad we're keeping with the time.
Mayor Hovland, you had another question?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'm still not going to support this with those two first whereas clauses. I think it serves the purpose of the resolution. If you start talking about the report by the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, I also don't care for the language on the second page. It's the last whereas clause. Now therefore be it resolved, the United States Conference of Mayors calls on the United States government to reverse its opposition to the TPNW. I think we should ask them to consider reversal of it. I don't know enough about the reasons why the eight nuclear armed states voted against this. So I'm not comfortable with it, but I am comfortable asking them to consider reversal of it. I don't know if the mayor county wants to deal with that issue or not. And while I have some discomfort with the third to the last clause on resolution, where it talks about canceling our plan to reduce the entire U.S. nuclear arsenal with enhanced weapons and instead redirect funds to other things that we think are really important. I can live with that language, but I can't personally live with the thought that I'm voting on something I don't know enough about with respect to the TPNW in particular. And I still don't like the way it's tied to the pandemic at the beginning. So depending on what Mayor County wants to do, I'll either vote for it or against it.
Well, it sounds to me like there are several suggestions for amending the current resolution. And Mayor County, you have heard some, while not specific with the language in the case of the first two, it sounds like, Mayor Hovland, your recommendation would be to amend this resolution by deleting the two whereas clauses to begin.
Yeah.
And you could either put that in the form of ask Mayor County for a friendly amendment, or I can put it to the committee for a vote if you're offering a formal amendment.
Yeah, I guess I'd first ask Mayor County how he feels about it, how he thinks about it. I don't want him to be reacting viscerally, but
Okay,
what he thinks about the proposal. If he doesn't want to propose, if he doesn't want to accept it, then I'll propose it as an amendment, see if I get a second. If not, we'll move on.
got it.
We put this together as it is for reasons that have been stated. I think that we ought to ask the committee whether they would like to delete those first two and have a vote on it.
I think that's a wise piece of advice. I'll move that the first two whereas clauses be removed and from the resolution, proposed resolution, and that on the page 2 at the conclusion of the whereas provision, that the first resolution provision be modified on the second line to reflect that the United States government consider reversal of its opposition to the TPNW, not that it actually reverse its opposition. Those are my proposed amendments, Madam Chair.
Members, you have the amendment before you. In the case to remove the first two whereas clauses and amend the line is mentioned by Mayor Hovland. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is a second on the amendment? Any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, all those in favor say, this is on the amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
All right.
Any opposed? I think the ayes have it. And on the amended resolution, any further discussion on the amended resolution? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your hands. Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it, and the amendment passes. Thank you, committee members, for that discussion. Are there any other new resolutions? Okay. Well, I think, and Luis, you tell me if I'm wrong, I think that concludes the business before the committee.
It does, ma'am. We're done.
Okay, and we're looking forward to getting together in person soon and make it happen.
Yeah.
All
Great to
right.
see our new president. Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
new President.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. So,
Bowser, you'll do a great job.
all right, this meeting is adjourned.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you.